Hello and welcome to the Just Mates podcast, where we aim to destigmatise men not speaking up about mental health. Remember to follow our social pages on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Just Mates Pod. You can listen to and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor and Apple Podcast. All links are provided in the description. In today's episode, we discuss anger. After our 10th episode, we've had quite a good reach. But anger today, 11th episode.
Yeah, it feels like we've come a long way, mate.
Definitely. I think from the nerves of the first podcast to now, it's a lot smoother, I think.
Yeah, it just it feels more fluid.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've picked up on our little habits and kind of honed in on them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about anger amongst men and I guess just how we can suppress it and fuel our anger to a more positive approach.
Yeah, we actually did. You did a beautiful illustration now of how to kind of it's not. I don't like the word control your anger, but kind of push it aside a little bit and just learn to understand it and push it into areas, if that makes sense. Yeah,
we've done a list of different tips and tricks for things to like calm you down, I guess, essentially. I mean, it's not a concrete solution, but it is definitely a way to help, like we said, channel it into something a bit more positive.
Yeah, and the reason we're kind of doing anger today is because it's for that reason that we kind of had like an illustration up, but we actually haven't delved into it too much at all.
Yeah.
And I think anger out of most emotions is, especially in males, I mean, because if you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day, Naf, the majority of people in prison are males.
Yeah.
And obviously males are generally more assertive and kind of do have a bit of a stereotype to be more aggressive, like physically.
Yeah, and dominant, I suppose.
That's the word. Yeah, more dominant and less likely to, listen to people and abide by the legal system. And it kind of really made me think, like, well, I don't think anger is talked about enough, and maybe if people started to realize that it can be a problem if it does get out of control, then maybe there can be a lot of issues that can be resolved, especially with people going to like jail and doing the wrong things. And
definitely. I think as well with anger, there's obviously there's always going to be a negative connotation, but looking at the root of what was causing the anger and the way that men deal with their emotions, considering the fact that we are known to not speak up as much, I guess for women, they have their hormones and they can have like a patchy few weeks or days, obviously, when they're on their periods and stuff. I guess they deal with their emotions differently. They can become emotional and, but I think amongst men, it's seen to be, because they don't talk, they have outbursts of anger. I don't know if that sounds like I'm speaking too much on women's behalf, but I do think that is a main reason.
Well, women are higher, generally speaking, higher in trait negative emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is fact. You can't really dispute that. Although there are going to be males that are typically higher than some women sort of thing. I'm just talking about average here.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is without stereotyping, with males, they've got more of, like I said, they're more assertive, less empathetic, and I think, like you said, Naf, is correct. If you bottle up anger, it can either come out all at once, and just it just explodes, and then something bad can happen, like you could end up in jail, you could end up fired, that sort of thing. Or if you really, really do suppress it to the point of just pushing it aside and not recognize it, it can really aid you and it can really destroy you internally.
100%. Yeah. I think as well, like the main thing is like men, from society, men are conditioned to be like quite aggressive, and we're told to just focus on things and not really talk about it. Maybe not directly, but that's what society tells us, and
Yeah.
like it's seen as a sign of weakness for talking up. So in retrospect to that, the reason because we don't talk up, we'll just get angry.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you do think about it from like a biological perspective, testosterone really clouds the mind.
Yeah.
So that can turn you. Well, I'm speaking from my experience. And I know from other people, if you just look at it from like a third party perspective, like it can really fuel you.
Yeah.
And it can get out of control. So other emotions as well, like you don't just get angry for the sake of being angry.
No.
Or root causes. So anger can be kind of like triggered by other external emotions, so such as like such as like anxiety, shame, sadness, fear, frustration, guilt, disappointment, worry, jealousy, embarrassment. And just if you're experiencing something which is kind of negative and your body kind of sees it as like a threat sort of thing, threat to it is kind of like this balance between the known and the unknown. And if your body and your mind can't handle what the perceived threat is, sometimes you can turn to anger. But that's generally what I kind of, because now I'm older and more mature, I can kind of recognize it.
Yeah. I think being younger, you don't recognize that anger is out of deeper rooted problems.
Yeah.
So you feel like punching things and like hitting things is the way to get rid of that anger. But I think with maturity comes ways to deal with those emotions. And the big thing from this, the reason why we're talking about it, is because anger is 100% related to mental health, and obviously it's to do with the mind and how we see things. And if you are around men or guys that are often quite angry a lot of the time, maybe try and see the deeper root of that anger rather than just stereotyping them as aggressive men, because I think that's what another problem is then, because people can't handle that anger. Not that they should have to, but if you don't be there and be supportive, they don't know how to channel that anger anymore, and they'll just carry on being aggressive, and it becomes a very bad habit.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, because I know we had like a little bit of a chat before this, something quite personal. Because when I was a kid, I kind of had like it was counselling, but to a sense, it was a bit like anger management.
Yeah.
And what people, because I used to get a little bit angry as a kid, and and I kind of recognise that anger now, and I can transfer it, and I can recognise it. I think there's just such a negative connotation around the word anger. It just shouldn't be there. But anyway, this is because when I was a kid, I didn't really think people were listening to me, and to a large extent they weren't. So the way I would outlet and get people to listen was to kind of have like almost like an outburst. So, like you said, punching holes in walls and screaming at the top of my lungs. And then that would be the point of when actually people would listen to me, is when I'd actually cause a disruption.
Yeah, it's just attention seeking in a sense, as a kid anyway. As a kid anyway.
So, so what I did during that time is this, they said, there are going to be people that are going to listen to me, just write things down. I don't know, go for a walk. And really, it just helped me come to grips with, I have counselling, but with regards to this in several other instances, is you kind of just make peace with your inner beast.
That's a good way to put it. I think thinking back now to when we were kids and stuff, do you remember when, like, say if we were angry or whatever, do you remember the common thing people used to say is, oh, you need anger management? Or,
yes, I still get that, mate.
And do you know what, that I'm only thinking about that now, but it's like anger shaming, isn't it? Like, instead of telling them how to control their anger, they're just telling them to just basically go away and deal with it.
Yeah, it's like you actually said, really, that really struck home, because when I get frustrated, because when I used to get really angry as a kid, and I really don't want to shame my family or anything, but whenever I get angry now, and it's not even throwing tantrums or throwing things, or just I talk a bit more assertive, like listen to me. Like
Yeah.
They say to me, "Oh, Sam, you've got anger problems." It's like, what?
Do you know what? It's just like I guess you could. Like I said, it's anger shaming. But like, say if someone was eating too much, and you wouldn't just outright call them fat, would you?
No,
You just wouldn't.
help.
It's just morally wrong and inconsiderate. So I think another thing for people maybe to take away from this is maybe don't rush in and just say, oh, you need to sort your anger out. Maybe you should help them in some sort of way. I'm not saying it's people's responsibility to control others and how they feel, but it's just a level of supportiveness as a sense.
Don't
Sorry, I was just going to say as well, and me personally, even as a kid, I never used to cry, and I still don't. Like, I'll obviously when death happens and stuff, I'll be quite emotional, but I don't cry at all. So my feelings towards anger were rooted from sadness, and I used to deal with it by punching things as a kid anyway. Yeah. And like we said before, I think we just didn't know what to do with our feelings. And because I didn't want to cry, I just got angry.
Yeah, that's I can fully sympathize with you there, mate. Like it's weird because as I've gotten older, I've been able to cry a lot more.
Yeah.
Because I did suppress it a lot when I was a kid. It kind of sounds weird, but you know how like weird and distorted my music taste is.
Yeah.
So like people think that a lot of people have this like perception of people that like heavy metal and stuff. They think that these people are like really angry or like out of tune sort of thing. It's like, well, I listen to Slipknot or scream music because it's kind of like it's an outlet. It's how I kind of feel inside.
And instead of you doing that, the other person is.
Yeah, and you'll find with bands like, I don't know, Architects, Slipknot, Korn, when they scream, it's like they're doing it for you.
Yeah.
And that is a positive way to kind of look at it.
I've never really thought of that because I'm quite guilty of not judging people, but assuming that why are you kind of listening to this kind of music? But obviously we all have a different acquired music taste, but it is a form of emotion, I guess. Like the same way, like, you may have heard the common term sad boy hours. People talk about it a lot, and that means they're listening to depressing music kind of thing. Yeah. The same way you listen to angry music is if you're angry, you listen to sad music because you're sad.
Yeah, that's so true, mate. And like, I got to really kind of help thank my mum for this, because when I was growing up and my parents were going through a divorce and we were going through absolute hell together, she used to basically put on heavy metal in the car. She doesn't listen to it anymore, but she used to put it on in the car.
Big up, Mumsy.
Yeah, and we both used to listen to it, and like that's how I kind of got into it. So there's this, like, I'll give you an example. My mum doesn't like Slipknot. She thinks it's way out of tune, but for me it's like, it's like basically like classical music to me now. There's this one song that they've got on there that I just made me fall in love with them. But if you were any normal person without any issues, you'd be like, what the hell? And like, I'll have to show you this after, but it's one of the songs. They start off and then you can hear the music build up, and you'll have to censor this, but they just go, whoa. And it goes on for like a minute, and it's like a proper scream, and you're like, oh yes, yes.
And like you said, they're doing that for you so that you don't have to kind of say that or shout that.
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. And I think if you are angry, like, heavy metal just helps so much. It really does.
Yeah, I think music is definitely an outlet to maybe even calm you down, and maybe in what do you call it, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you are sad, listen to happy music. If you are angry, listen to calmer music.
Yes.
But if you're calm, don't listen to angry music, because why would you want to make yourself angry? But you know what I mean? Like, maybe opposites would help there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you've really hit the nail on the head there, because if you are feeling down, like, try and listen to something funky.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what a lot of when people are depressed, they do, obviously talking about your problems helps, and 100% I will say that you should do that. But at the same time, if you carry on talking about it all day, all night long, you're just going to be in this depressive bubble and you're not thinking about anything else. It's great to talk about things, have your little outbursts, talk about your emotions, get it out of your head and your system, but then you need to channel that into something a bit more positive and start being more positive about things. Because if you hold on to the negative, if you wake up in a bad mood, your whole day is going to be bad, kind of thing.
Yeah. And this is what I was saying. I like that whole transference kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because with anger, what I've learned is, and this is what, this is kind of what I played football, played rugby for a little bit, did MMA, did boxing and stuff. Like having an outlet, like once you finish like a session or even just working out in itself, like is so helpful, mate.
Yes, definitely. It gets the blood pumping as well, which is what happens when you're angry anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is with anger, like, I think I sent you the saying, so if you have no teeth, you become really easily pushed around.
Yeah.
So I think people look at anger kind of negatively, but you can, if you've ever been really angry, you know what I mean when I say, you only see red.
Yeah, of course.
It makes you like less rational, makes you rigid, makes you really short-term focused, impulsive, and like you obviously just want to be right. But it's such a source of energy. Why would you get rid of it?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So like if you've got that energy, use it in like a positive manner. So like flip it on its head. I've kind of said that thing before. So when I used it in football, I've used it at work if I want to, like prove someone wrong.
That's what I was going to go into, proving someone wrong. I think, say if you've been told off or something, or you've been repeatedly told something and you're not happy with it. So say someone said, "Oh, you can't do this," kind of thing, and they're making you angry so much. Instead of, obviously, in that sudden moment, you're thinking, "Oh, God's sake, shut up," kind of thing, and you get so angry. But in that moment, once you've suppress that emotion of complete rage, turn that anger into something more positive and prove them wrong and do what they think you can't do.
Yeah.
So if they're telling you, "Oh, you can't get this assignment done, you can't do this, you're not good enough, blah blah blah," get angry, however you feel, but prove them wrong, get the assignment done.
Yeah, that's exactly as well. It's kind of weird you say that, because that's exactly what happened to me in academia.
Yeah.
Because I wrote this Facebook post, what was it, like to just when I graduated, basically, as a kind of like a middle finger to people. When I was in GCSEs, they didn't even know if I'd pass them. And then when I did A levels, they said I'd fail. When I went into, they said I wouldn't even get into uni. And then my thesis tutor said I wouldn't get a first, and I should be happy with at least a 2-1. And it's like all of that really fuels you.
Yeah, definitely. And you just want to prove people wrong as well as do good for yourself.
Yeah, man. So I think anger is like, it can be positive. Like, obviously, if you're not, there's the other side of the spectrum. If you're just slamming someone's head into a door, then all right, maybe that's a bit too much.
And I think like it's good you've just mentioned that, because we've talked about anger, but we're not condoning violence. We're not saying that these angry episodes are always okay. We're not saying that it's a great thing, but if people are getting angry, please try and think about maybe these episodes are happening because they're suffering from something deeper down. And it's like I said before, men are condoned by society to be aggressive and dominant kind of thing. So when they are being that way, maybe it's because they don't want to show that they're sad. So just give them a quick, just ask them, like, what is really wrong kind of thing. And those kind of words, those trigger words, can really calm people down instead of telling them to stop being angry.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever been in kind of like the scenario. I don't know if I've just said this. My memory's going a bit. Where, so you're angry and then someone goes, oh, you're just, you know what I mean? They kind of just say, oh, they kind of see it on the surface.
Yeah,
So,
we were talking about anger management kind of thing.
yeah, pretty much. If someone says you're angry, that kind of makes you more angry when you are angry. It's like putting gasoline on fire.
It's just like, yeah, definitely. Like, if you take a toy away from a kid that kid wants, they're just going to throw the rest of their toys out of the pram until they get that toy again.
Yeah, I would much rather someone actually come up to him and be like, listen, mate, I know you're frustrated. Do you want to sit down and talk about it?
Yeah. And do you know what? The amount of times that probably would have helped as a kid if my, say if it was something at home, like my mum or dad made me angry or whatever, I think, not speaking on behalf of all parents, but sometimes parents don't like to apologise, and they don't want to say sorry because obviously they're the parent figure. They're in hierarchy terms. They're more up from us, but they don't want to say sorry. And I think maybe that's a root of some of the problems where maybe as kids, if my mum or dad made me angry or uncle made me angry, and they hadn't acknowledged that they're the reason I'm angry. Instead, they're telling me to just calm down, stop being a kid kind of thing. Yeah. If they'd have just maybe honed in on the fact that maybe I've made you angry and I should apologise, let's normalise that. Let's normalise older people saying sorry for their actions as well.
Yeah, that's so right, mate. And it's, no matter what age you are, you shouldn't really judge a book by its cover.
No.
And if you see someone that is angry, don't just look at it at face value. Just think, okay, maybe this dude is going through something that I don't know, and maybe I should open my ears and listen. I mean,
just
you might
acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, and if that person is obviously, looking like he's going to smack you, walk away. But if you just open your heart out and just say, listen, mate, what's going on? Like, this is not really you. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes, exactly. And the amount of times that probably would have helped instead of telling me to just calm down. It's just like when someone's sad, you don't just say, stop being sad, do you? You wouldn't say that.
No, it's like putting a Band-Aid on like a ripped off leg.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to help. I just think it's important I think just remember that anger is a normal emotion.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
As well, like linking this to mental health, like there's so many reasons people can be angry. And I think you listed a few before, but like it could be like disappointments in like career, financial stress, relationships like marriage or parents. I think it's just deep rooted from so many different factors that if these episodes are so regular from people around you that they're feeling angry, I know we keep saying it, but just literally just find out what the root of the problem is instead of just bypassing it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like I've been in plenty of them as well. But obviously with maturity, I've really learned to kind of grow out and recognize frustration and anger when it gets there, so I can kind of maybe meditation has helped me do that. But anger is really toxic.
Yeah.
So it can, like I said this to you earlier, so it can really spread like wildfire. So I don't know if you've been in like a heated argument with someone. So you're talking with someone, normal conversation, and then their voice goes up, sort of thing.
And then you want to match that tone.
Yeah, it's dominance, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, especially if they're male. So if they say something like, I don't know, they just say something, and then you can kind of feed off of that energy, and before you realize it, you're in a punch up and out the street for absolutely nothing over a bag of chips.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just about us being assertive and dominant, and we always want to be one up on the other person.
Yes.
And I think when you're angry, that is the only thing you see. Like you said, you see red. The only thing you want to do is prove that you're right, even if you're not. And I'm not saying that these episodes of anger are always correct. Like, some people do need to be told that you need to stop being angry. Sometimes you do need to be straight up told that this is happening way too often. You need to sort it out, kind of thing, obviously in a respectable way. But as we keep saying, like, you just see when you're angry, you just see yourself as right. You want to raise your voice. You want to shout. You want to be aggressive and just prove that what you're saying is wrong and what I'm saying is right, regardless of the situation.
Because you're right, mate. And because at the end of the day, people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And they get their opinion across. And if you feel like you can't get your opinion across, then obviously you're going to resort to acting in a way which is not obviously acceptable in society. So I think I've given this example before. So when I was driving, when I was probably like 19 or something, when I used to get cut up, I used to get really angry.
Road rage.
Yeah, and I remember this one point when I was basically just driving home. I wasn't even going fast, to be honest, and it was on a dual carriageway, and I moved off into the right hand lane just to basically take a right on the roundabout, and this dude thought I was overtaking him or something, like white van driver typical, and he just moved onto the other lane, kept cutting me up, and like at the end of it I couldn't really go around the roundabout because he kept cutting me up. And I got so angry that I was effing and blinding at him. And I called at the end of it, I just kind of, it was really weird. I kind of had like a self-realization when I was in that moment, like, why are you driving so fast? Why are you getting so angry at this bloke that doesn't even know you? Like, the worst type of people are the ones that can know how to push a button.
Yeah, definitely. Just the wind-up merchants.
Yeah, and he was kind of a wind-up merchant. I've never known him. And then when I got home, I was like, I can't believe I let myself get angry at someone that's just going to be like that to me. Like,
and the fact that you don't even know the person and you'll probably never see the person again. I think that's another thing. Like, that just shows you how much rage can take over.
It really can. And, why do you think a lot of, accidents and murders and stuff and all of these horrible things happen is because people just lose their temper.
Yeah. And sometimes losing that temper could be the answer to some problems, because maybe someone's holding on to a certain thing they want to talk about, and it's just one trigger point that's caused them to be angry, but then finally it's all out, kind of thing. But that's controlling your temperament as well, isn't it?
I think sometimes it can be really beneficial to you because, like I said with that saying, if you have no teeth, you can become too easily pushed around.
Yeah.
So I had my birthday gathering last week.
Yeah, halfway to 50.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, and I've got knee pain now. My back hurt
Why are your knees hurting, Sam?
I don't know, mate. I'm getting old. Yeah, not like that, mate. I booked it like a month in advance with a couple of my close mates, and these guys, I can't fault them. They're really nice dudes. And I really hope they're not listening to this, but I booked the restaurant table. I was fine with that. And then obviously with this whole COVID situation, I was really worried about the pubs, like not being open. I was trying to book places and it all ended up fine.
Yeah.
But felt like, this is probably really, really immature, but I was like, this is my birthday. Why am I the only one booking and looking for things?
I kind of remember you having a little outburst to me as well.
Yeah, I got absolutely. Basically, I've never really spoken to any of them like this, and I put a message in the chat just saying somebody better help me, or this is just not going to happen. I'm getting really pissed off now, and then they started to help me. So it's like, it can kind of work in your favor.
I think like you kind of channel because your boys, they're not going to take that to heart. I think it's just all based on who you're around. Obviously, when you're around kids, if you show that you're angry all the time, you're kind of teaching them that that's okay, kind of thing. Yeah. But in some instances, you can suppress your anger, and you can maybe in front of the child, you can be calm and relaxed about and composed about it, but go behind a closed door and release that anger. There's just a time and a place for everything.
That's a really, really good point, mate, because I think anger can be kind of manifested when you're as a kid.
Yes, just like every emotion, it's based on who you're around and what you see in your life. That is what you become.
Yeah, because it's it's social conditioning in a sense, because when you're a kid, and you'll find this with kids that kind of bully people, and
I was going to mention this. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
yeah. So when they're bullying people, when that kid is angry, it's often because I read this thing probably a couple of years ago. About this kid that used to go around and started hitting people and punching people and stuff, and he used to bully this other guy who's like a UFC fighter basically, and that's why that kid basically turned to like fighting, because he didn't want to be beaten up anymore. But anyway, the kid that was doing the bullying in the first instance
Probably got
they later found out that he was doing that because this, when he got home, his dad was beating him and his dad was yelling at him.
Yeah.
So the only way that kid could communicate was by hitting and punching other kids,
because he thinks that's normal.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on there. I think because they're not able to be dominant at home or in that situation, they're finding another place to be dominant. So often you hear about it all the time, really, don't you? Like, bullies are often bullied. So yeah. That child was obviously getting bullied at home, and the way he dealt with that was he's thinking in his mind, well, someone's treating me like this, which means it must be okay, so let me just do it to someone else.
Yeah, and you do need to teach your kids, like when I have kids, I'll be like, look, I understand your frustration, sort of thing. Let's try and transfer that energy into something positive. But like you said earlier, you just can't negate anger, because if you're saying it's not a normal emotion, people are going to feel like really secluded.
Yeah.
And they're the only one, and if your voice isn't heard, it's just gonna build up.
I think, like I said, obviously as parents as well, definitely as parents, it's important that you notice that you may have caused this problem with your child or people around you.
Yeah.
And to take accountability for that. Probably the kids seeing that you taking accountability for it will teach them that if I do ever get angry, I should apologize.
Yeah.
It's just about what you see and what you learn, really. And I just think it's important that you like you said, it is social conditioning. You become who your environment, don't you?
Yeah.
And
well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, exactly. And if around you at home everyone seems to be angry all the time and doesn't know how to deal with things, you're going to go to your normal place of being social, like with your friends or school, and you're going to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I can probably put this in a different angle from anger. So obviously when my dad moved out, left when I was 12. I kind of grew up around my mum, and my mum's obviously, because women are high in trait negative emotion, it's over the years it's kind of helped me become more feminine in a sense.
Oh, so, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
understand women's angle, the female perspective a lot more, and I'm probably a lot more emotional in the sense of being sympathetic and caring about things that
being emotionally aware, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you think about it from that angle, if you've grown up, let's just say with a drunken alcoholic father or something, then you probably will have more of a tendency to be more angry or something. But also on the flip side, and I think I've mentioned this before, so if you did grow up with an angry dad or an angry mum or angry brother sort of thing, you'd probably want to think, I'm never going to be angry ever
exactly
again.
Yeah, I think as well, it's good you bring that up. Say for example your parents always argue and your mum is, it doesn't have to be this way, but your dad's always beating your mum or your mum's always beating your dad, and you get into a relationship, and instead of thinking it's okay to beat my partner, you think, I do not want to be an embodiment of what my father or mother is doing. So I know how somebody should be treated, and I know how my mum feels when she gets hit or dad feels when he gets hit. Let me not put somebody else in that position.
Yeah, and I think that's really useful as well. But on the flip side of that as well, it's if you're repressing a useful source of energy like anger, then that can also manifest in different ways that you probably won't foresee. So like I've said, transference is recognize it's there, appreciate it. And I think I'd like to move on a bit now with meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of, when you understand meditation, and you understand, breathing and stuff, you start to see your emotions from like a third party kind of perspective. And I talk about it like I'm a connoisseur and like I'm Gandhi, but it's actually incredibly difficult to do, because especially with anger or depression, because when you're in that bubble, it's like the bubble's made out of titanium and you can't really get out of it and see it from a third party perspective. But sometimes if you can get out and recognize, see your emotions from like another point of view, people who meditate know what I'm on about here. It can be really useful. It's like you kind of detach yourself from that angry person.
Yeah, I think it's just like anything. When you notice a certain trait about yourself, you know your triggers. Yes. And if you say, for example, the TV being on the number 16 volume angers you, you know to avoid that number 16. So the same way certain things may make you angry, you just know to avoid them. And if you are succumb to being around that thing, you know that I need to do this to make sure that I stay calm in this present moment. So just like one of our first episodes, which has been such a massive help to a lot of people that I've spoken to about it, the Wim Hof breathing.
Oh yeah, mate. Yeah.
And you can do that, and you told me this as well. You can do that at any point, wherever you are, really. Obviously, in a respectable environment, but you can channel that energy into Wim Hof breathing, whatever you're feeling. So say if you find yourself being extra angry and you've just run upstairs and you want to just punch something, instead of punching something, do the Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree.
I mean, that's just one thing that you could do. Maybe another thing is a stress ball, or maybe another thing is cleaning, or, there's so many things that people do to take their minds off things.
I think cleaning is really good. That's really good you mentioned that.
Yes, therapeutic, isn't it? Anything that you find therapeutic.
Yeah. Do you like cleaning and stuff like?
Do you know what? I can't lie. I don't mind. Like when you get into the zone of it, you just keep going, don't you?
Yeah. It's what's that saying? Tidy room, tidy mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely with cleaning. Like, say if you're hoovering, the sound of the hoover just drowns everything out, doesn't it? And I find that a lot. Like when I'm hoovering, I'll just kind of not forget everything, because it's hard to do that. But when you're in that zone, it's like music, really. You're just focusing on the music. And when you're hoovering, you just focus on the hoover and you just suppress all your emotions and you just get on with it.
Yeah, that's I can kind of transfer that into a way. Let me try and word that in a different way. So it's like having an object that you can focus on.
Yeah.
It's almost like an objective, to like transfer all of your energy, thoughts, and processes, and on that, fixated on that one thing. I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I think maybe we refer to that 5 ways to manage anger thing we've put on our Instagram.
Yes.
Let's go. I don't know if you've got it up or you can get it up, but I've got it up as well.
Yeah, if you read it to me, mate, and I can just give my thoughts. I haven't got it up at the moment.
So on our Instagram, on our highlights page, and on one of the posts on our Instagram, we've got these 5 ways to manage anger, and they are. So I'll list the 5 things and then we'll go through them each. Yep. Count, walk, talk, write, and channel. So okay. I'm gonna read out what each of them says. So count says count down or up to 10. If you're really angry, start at 100. In the time it takes you to count, your heart rate will slow and your anger will likely subside.
Yeah.
So should we talk about that? Maybe it's just like hoovering, really. Like you're channeling your emotions to doing something different, and you just forgetting about everything else, really.
Yeah, I've actually practiced this at work. So I don't know if you've ever had like a bad email or something.
Yeah.
Or someone said something to you. This is something that my old boss, taught me. It's just like if you get like an email, because communications can kind of get misconstrued and points of view be a bit distorted. I remember there was one time I got this email and I got a little bit frustrated, and the boss was just like, Sam, just breathe, exactly like you said, count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I did that whole exercise. It's not the same one that you've got listed, but I did that. And by that time, my emotions kind of climbed back down, and I started to rationalize. And it turns out the actual email was something that I didn't see. Because testosterone
and you saw red.
Yes, mate, that's it. So that's a brilliant one that we've got there. And
I think as well, like you just said, in that situation, is taking accountability for realizing that actually I thought I was right when I was angry. I've calmed down, and maybe I was the one in the wrong.
Yeah, it's like I read this book a couple of years ago. It's called The Chimp Paradox.
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of, I can't remember the whole concept of the book. I've actually got it here, actually. That makes sense. So it says your inner chimp can be your best friend or your worst enemy, is the chimp paradox. So it's basically picturing like your emotions as kind of like a chimp. And then kind of feeding it in a way to, not negating it or ignoring it. Otherwise, like
nurturing it.
Yeah, you're nurturing it. So kind of recognizing it. It's like mind management to help you become like more happy and confident and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of recognizing that it's there.
And that analogy of the chimp, that could be anything for anyone. You could use it as your favorite pet or favorite animal and channel it to be a positive dog or a negative dog, an angry dog, sad dog, happy dog, and use that as your kind of inner beast.
Yeah, it's in essence, it's like understanding that your emotions are really primitive.
Yeah.
So recognizing like how your mind works and understanding how to manage your emotions and thoughts. Like I won't go into it in too much detail because it's quite a chunky book. But for anyone listening, like especially with anger, sadness, it's kind of recognizing that it's there. It's kind of like meditation in a sense, but it puts a lot more fun a perspective to kind of think, okay, this is your body's natural response to how it perceives like a threat if you're talking about anger, and this is how you kind of get around that and kind of put the monkey back in its box when it's acting out, sort of thing. So but I'll put a link in the description if people want to read it. It's really...
No, that's great. Okay, I'll go to the next one. It's walk. Go for a walk or ride your bike. Move your body and go outside. Simply being away from the situation can help relieve anger. Now, I often feel like this is my outlet as well. You can probably agree with running. For me, it's gym as well. And during lockdown, like the beginning of lockdown, running was my outlet. But if I'm ever angry and I'm already planning on going to the gym anyway, I'll just bring forward them plans and I'll just get myself away from the situation and just go to the gym.
Yeah, no, gym really works for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, because for me, I think when I'm at the gym, got my music in, got everything plugged in, all I'm thinking about is my reps and my sets. So I'm not really, I can't even lie, I'm genuinely not thinking about anything else. I'm not even worried about anything. I just want to get my session done. Obviously, when you walk out the gym, it's a different scenario, but in that moment, that's how I suppress my anger and channeling it into my reps. Really?
Yeah. Well, it's physical. I think any form of physical exertion kind of grounds you and brings you back down to earth. You're not really in your head when you're pushing like 100 kg like above your chest.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Like I've noticed with me, like running is and you know this as well. Like running is really, really great because anyone that does running knows that running sucks.
Yeah. No one does it for enjoyment.
No, it's like, well, you can to an extent if you're just going for like a leisurely jog, but if you're going at like a quite, you're pushing yourself to maybe like 70-80%, then nothing's in your mind. You just want to stop running.
Yeah.
And that in itself is like, nothing else in your mind is coming up. You just want to get the exercise done, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So exercise is definitely an outlet. Sport as well. So kind of like I don't know. You play normal football, don't you, Naf?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Have you found that helps? Because I've never really played it.
It's just the same with gym, really, and it's the same with anything. When you're playing, you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
I know some people, especially professionals, like you'll get the professional footballer that will be like, I had a bad game because I had this on my mind. But more times than not, they use football or their sport to just get away from the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's definitely best to kind of pick up like a sport or hobby, kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even be like table tennis for goodness sake. But I think the more physical exertion that you have in a sport, the more you're going to be out of your mind.
Yeah, definitely. The next one is talk. Confide in a close friend or relative. Don't bottle up your anger in the long term. This can be very damaging to your mental health.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole point of these bloody podcasts, really.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and I'm kind of a bit to and thrown about something that I haven't actually brought up before. So if I say it depends on who the people are. They have to be kind of close to you. I'd say, I mean, it's good to talk to anybody, but just be careful with who you tell certain things.
Yeah, some people aren't out for your best interests.
Yeah, and they're just shit spreaders sometimes, or they're these people can be, and we've discussed this before, they can kind of be a bit toxic. So be kind of wary on who you speak to. So you want to make friends that are with like with you, Naf. Like, I know when I'm talking to you, you want the best for me. So
yeah, emotionally available friends, really.
Yeah, and I know talking to you, you always want the best for me, even if what you say is not what I want to hear. You'll say it anyway.
Yeah. So
that is something you should look for in people, and for people to confide in, because if you're just talking to somebody that just they say everything you want to hear, then there's no point.
Or even just talking to someone that's they're asking what's wrong just to get the gossip kind of thing. You've just got to realise that might even make you angrier, really.
Yeah. Well, it can be helpful just to let things out, but if you think about it like long term, having the right people to talk to and confide in. I mean, you are actually right, because if you do talk to the wrong person, you could maybe pick up on that you're not talking to the wrong person. You feel like you waste your time, and that could probably make it worse.
Yeah, because then you feel like, well, somebody told me to talk to someone, it will help, and this didn't help, so I'm never going to talk to anyone again. But that's the completely wrong mindset. It's just, like we keep saying, you've got to, like you said, you've got to find the right person that will be understanding, and there's just a way of saying things, and to be emotionally supportive, you just have to be of a level ground and be able to be assertive and know what you're talking about with the other person.
Yeah, and try and I don't know if this tactic has kind of work for you, Naf, but if somebody's been through something, and I know they've been through it, and you going through a similar thing, just speak to them.
Yeah. And sometimes don't wait for the other person to tell you what's wrong. Just go up to them and say, like, I've noticed you've been a little off recently. I've seen these outbursts of like you being angry. What's up, kind of thing. And then, or even just talk about yourself, and they will eventually just spread out and talk about themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
So that's talking, which is very important, really. This one I haven't really ever done, but I know so many people do. It's write a letter about how you feel and then throw it away. Then you will help express how you feel whilst helping you rationalize your emotions. And another one off of writing is like keeping a journal as well. But yeah, writing a letter and throwing it away, that could be helpful.
Yeah, I like to put it in like a more how people can kind of recognize how useful this is. So like I know we've kind of mentioned music and stuff, and a lot of the time, like, an artist's outlet is to make something, if you listen to like an artist like Eminem or something, you really understand what he's kind of gone through. And what do you think his first instance was? It was to write down how he was feeling and then channel that into his music. So if artists can do it, then just because you can't sing, rap, or write doesn't mean you can't just write down how you're feeling. It really does help. It really does.
It's just like I've seen this in a couple of films as well, and I've heard like counsellors say this and therapists say this. Like, say if you wanted to tell somebody how you feel, like say if you're in love with someone or like you like someone, blah blah blah.
Get my letter.
Well, it's in the post. So yeah, no, you write down how you feel, and you may or may not give that to someone. You may or may not like give that to the person you're feeling them emotions towards.
Yeah.
But because you've written it down, you've made it real. You've made it that it's not just in my head now. I actually think these things. And whether, like I said, whether or not you give it to that person or not, you have now acknowledged your emotion. And that will just come a long way for you from mind to paper.
Yeah, it does. It's a bit... I don't know. I don't know if I want to use this like analogy. It's like catch it, bin it, kill it sort of thing. So it's like if a thought comes into your head. I mean, even if you just write it down in the notes on your phone, and then you leave it like maybe 5 minutes, and you read it back, and you probably think, or even a day, you probably think, is that right? Is that really what I'm feeling?
Yeah, and do you know what? It's just made me think of this. If something makes you angry and it's not going to affect you in 1 hour, just let go of it. I can't remember what the actual metaphor is. Like, I think if it's not gonna affect you in 5 days, don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And like, say for example, someone's spoken to you horribly, and it's just made you so angry, and you're not even going to see that person again. Just like the road rage. In 5 days' time, are you going to see that person again?
No.
So then, why do you need to spend longer than 5 minutes being worried or angry about that thing happening?
It's a really good way to think about it, mate. I haven't actually thought about it.
Yeah,
like that.
I've heard of that being said before, but it just makes so much sense to this.
I've heard it, but I've never paid attention to it.
Yeah.
No, that's really true, actually. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So, and the last one, which is literally comes off of every other one that we've just mentioned, is channel. Turn your anger into a tangible production. Consider painting, gardening, or working out. I think this goes for any hobby that you may have. And like you said, with work and stuff, just channel your anger into proving people wrong or proving yourself wrong that you're angry for a certain thing and I actually can do this.
Yeah, it's don't let it build up into resentment. You know, I think I've mentioned it on like another podcast. Like, you know, you can turn bitter and then you can turn resentful and then you can turn like hateful and then, you know, it's really dark from then on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it can really snowball. So just catch it, bin it, kill it.
Yeah, I think that actually is the perfect thing to say, really, because them kind of things you can't hold on to how you're feeling forever. So, like you said, catch it, acknowledge how you're feeling, throw it away, as in like talk about your problems, and then kill it. Just don't let it affect you again.
Yeah, because often a lot you are right now. For like in the long terms, I've been in the situation before. You kind of look back and think, why did I devote so much of my anger, aggression, sadness to something which is not even
relevant?
Not even relevant to me anymore. So it's a really good point there, mate.
Yeah, I think we'll cap it off here then, mate. I think we've covered quite a lot. If there's anything that maybe we've missed, maybe the listeners can let us know. Yeah, but I'm really chuffed that we've been so consistent, and this is number 11 now.
It's mad. Mad. Doing this until our like 60s.
Well, hopefully we won't be depressed by then. I think we're trying to fix that, really. But again, thanks guys for all the support. I mean, we've got our loyal listeners. I think last one, the with your uncle Simon on there, it's had a great reach. A lot of people have listened to that, and I think maybe having another guest on the shows on the podcast is probably quite helpful.
Yeah, I think so, mate. And even, you know, if we just help one person, then our job is done. I mean, for me personally, I just like doing this to talk to you, and it just gets my feelings out.
Yeah, I think without being too direct, obviously we're not as personal on here. It just leads off of us talking about other things as well. Like, I've had numerous conversations and phone calls with you about personal things. And what do I always say? I say, like, we've talked about this on the pod. We've talked about this here. Remember what we said here, and then we just relate to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah. So this is number 11 of Just Mates. You can find us again on our socials at Just Mates Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Obviously, if you're listening to this on YouTube, it's Just Mates Podcast. Give us a like and subscribe. It goes a long way. And yeah, I've been Nafees.
I've been Sam.
I'll see you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.